Hello everyone, it's James at Innotech Tech Talk. Today I'm kicking off a new project. I'm going to be building a custom gaming desktop using parts that I've handpicked. The way I'm going to do this review is each time I add a new piece of hardware to the build, I'm going to do a quick unboxing and review, and then I'm going to go right into installing it into the computer. So let's go ahead and get started, and I find it appropriate to start with the computer case. So I'm going to take my handy little pocket knife here and go ahead and open up the box. Well, actually, let me just start off by showing you here. The box that I'm using, or the case that I'm using for this build, is the Coolmaster HAF XB. It's a cube case, and they actually call it a LAN box. The reason I picked this is it really meets all my needs, and I really like the form factor of the cube case. I wanted to do something a little bit different than a tower this time around, so I think this is going to work out really well. But let me go ahead and open it up, and then I'll kind of do a review on it, and we'll start prepping it for the build. This is the first time I've used a case made by Cooler Master, and all the reviews that I've read online have been really good, so I'm hoping that this really lives up to my expectations, because many of you know that have watched some of my previous videos is that I have really high expectations for computer hardware. So start out by taking it out of the box here. Stuff out of the way. It's a heavy case. If I had to guess, I would say that it weighs close to 20 pounds, and I can probably confirm that here. Yeah, so 18.1 pounds on this case, so it is pretty hefty. But typically, that's indicative of a case that's made out of quality materials. It's maybe using a heavier gauge steel than some of the cheaper cases that pull off a lighter weight. So I'll soon find out. And they include a nice little instruction book with it, but I don't think we'll be needing that. So let me just kind of give you a view here. I'm going to be using this little remote control to zoom in now because I don't have a camera person. So let me kind of come around the front here. Move my tablet out of the way. Alright, so on the front we have two 5.5 inch bays, two 3.5 inch bays. Here's a 3.5 inch, and for the 3.5 inch they just come out like so. Yep, a little bit difficult here. There we go. Little box that probably contains the hardware for the case, but it just slides right out. And let me kind of bring it around here. Now these are a lot sturdier than what I'm used to for removable drive bays. So the way this works is there's a little button right there that you push, and it slides out just enough where you can put your 3.5 inch drive in here, click it into place using the 4 studs, and yeah, that, I bet you anything, once a drive is in this, it'll be extremely sturdy. It's already fairly sturdy as far as I'm concerned. So I'll go ahead and slide it back in there. I'm not going to be using a 3.5 inch drive for this build. For right now, I'm actually just going to install a solid state drive, but I'll talk about that later as we get to that part of the build. Yeah, I'll just leave these out. But really nice touch on those. It would make it extremely easy to pop a drive in and out, and you'll see once I get the case open how that whole that drive bay cage works. So like I said, right here we have the 5.5 inch bays, and it's just a little, sorry, you probably can't see that on the camera. Let me lift it up here real quick. So like I said, right here is where the 5.5-inch bays go. So if you have a CD-ROM or something like that, again, I'm not using these. I don't typically buy CD drives anymore. I do have an external CD drive that I can plug into the USB ports if I do happen to need it for some reason. But for the most part, I've transferred all my software over to USB drives. So when I go to install my operating system and stuff like that, I'll either be installing it off a USB drive or I'll be downloading it online. So I won't be using those, but they are there. Maybe later on, if I want, I'll throw in like a fan controller or something like that so I can adjust the speeds of my fans. So yeah, that's it for the front of the case here. We got two USB 3.0 ports. We got a headphone in or headphone out. We'll call it in or out. Headphone, microphone jack, power and reset button. So go ahead and get it open here. Now, one thing that I like to do when I'm taking screws out is I like to keep them organized. I just use one of these little plastic boxes that has little dividers in it, a tray like this. You can pick them up at, this one happens to be a Plano, so it's probably something you'd use if you're putting fishing tackle or something like that, but I happen to think it works really good for storing extra screws. But let me turn this around so you can see the back side of the case. So let me move my tablet out of the way here. So right here we have the rear exhaust fan, and you can put a 120 millimeter fan in that bay right there, or that fan slot. More ventilation up top. We have room here for 3-way SLI or crossfire, if you're going to be running that many video cards. Kind of give you a better look here. So right here's the slots for your video cards, and then down here I believe those are two 80 millimeter fan slots, so you can run a couple 80 millimeter fans at your internal drive cage, and I'll show you that once we get the case open. And then another unique thing about this case is, let me see if I can angle it enough so you can tell. Right here is where you install your power supply, and it's protruding a little bit. And the reason they do that is so they can make a little bit smaller form factor of a cage to install your hardware and still be able to fit a decent size power supply in your case. Now for this case, it says that you can use up to 180 millimeter length power supply, so that's roughly what, 7.1 inches, and you can get a decent wattage power supply in that length. I got a 750 watt that I'll end up showing you later. Okay, so the thumb screws are installed pretty tight, so I'm going to have to use my screwdriver to break them loose a little bit here. But once I shouldn't have any problems later on if I need to take these off, just using my fingers to loosen them, and I really like that. It's a good design element on any modern case. So I'm just going to go ahead and take all of these off. The only ones I'll leave on are the screws for the power supply there, because we won't be installing that until later. It's a little bit hot in this room. It's a nice warm spring day here in Lansing, Michigan, and I don't have any fans running. But hey, I'm not going to complain. It's better than the weather we were getting all winter long. I'll take hot over cold any day. So, okay, that'll do it. I'm going to go ahead and close this right off in case it falls down. I don't want to lose a bunch of screws all over the place. Alright, so let's take off the top first. And yeah, just what I thought. These panels are really sturdy. My experience a lot of the time with case panels, especially ones like this that have the mesh grill in the top, is that they're usually pretty flimsy, and And I gotta tell you, this one is, I mean, it's really rigid, it's really stiff. And that might have to do with this little, here, kind of hold it back a little bit. You can see here at the top, it kind of swoops up a little bit and gives you some extra room. And if you don't plan on using the 200 millimeter fan that can be installed in top, you could probably get the tallest radiator or heatsink for your video card, or for your processor if you plan on using a heatsink that's fan cooled and not like a liquid cool system. So it's really, you know, that's really good design as far as I'm concerned. I'm actually going to just use I'm going to throw a 200 millimeter fan in the top here. You can see there's already a little rubber grommets in place to install it, and I'll do that later on. But yeah, if you're just going to use like a really big fan cooled heatsink on your processor, this little swoop here, this extra space on top is going to allow you to put a really large heatsink on your processor. So I'm going to put this aside for right now because I'm not going to put it back on until later on. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take the sides off here, and that way you can get a better look. Now, again, I mean, a little bit more flex in these than the top panel, but it's not a lot at all. Nice grill here for allowing airflow through the case, and then a handle to assist you in picking up the case. This is technically a LAN box by name, so I could see this being really handy if you're going to be going to LAN parties and using these to pick up your case and transport it around. So yeah, really nicely done. Put that panel aside, and the panel on the other side is just the same thing, so I'm not going to show that to you. I'm just going to put it aside here so you can get a look at the inside of the case. One of the other ways that you can use this case is like a tech bench. So if you're doing a lot of reviews or you're testing out a lot of products, you can just leave the panels off of this, the front and the side panel, so you just have an open system, and you can easily swap things in. Now, I have a 2-year-old here at the house, so I'm not going to be doing that. I'll take any protection I can get, against the little guy's mayhem. So especially since his playroom is also my office, so I could definitely see a toy car here or there being chucked through the air and possibly hitting the outside of the case. So I'll definitely be using the panels. Let's see here. So I'm going to turn it around on the side here, and you can. It's going to be hard for me to do this by myself, but let me give you a look here. Okay, so right here is a little drive cage that you can put your 2.5-inch drives in, and I really like that they've done that, because not enough case manufacturers are doing that anymore, recognizing that gaming computer builders are using the solid state drives more and more now, just because of the speed benefits and the reliability that you get from them. So I'm assuming that in this hardware box, and I'll confirm it later, there's some rails that I can attach to the side of my solid state drive and just slide it right into this drive bay. Other than that, it is a toolless installation for your 5.25-inch bays. So yeah, that's a really good design, and I don't know if you can see, there's some really good loops here to do wire management all along the side where the motherboard tray sits, and then down on the bottom of the case. So I can kind of lift that up there. And if you really want a good look at the insides of this case, that are, be better than what I can provide you shooting this by myself, go to Cooler Master's website, and they have a really good photo archive of this case, so you can actually see the insides a lot better. Okay, I'm going to turn it around to the other side here and kind of angle it, see if you can see here. So right here is a little board that's attached to the back of your 3.5-inch drive bay. and it's basically allowing you to plug your power and your SATA cables into that board instead of into the drives themselves. So it's easier to do hot swapping. You don't have to unplug it from the actual physical drive. Those cables always stay plugged into your case, and then you can swap out your drives on demand. So really nice. Oh, I almost forgot to mention here, there is a on the bottom of the power supply, there is a little filter. So, and that just slides right in. I really like that. And there's like a little cradle in here. Let me see again if I can. So yeah, right here is like a lifted platform, I guess is a better word for it, that your power supply sits on. So it kind of elevates it above the bottom of the case a little bit, and that's really nice. And again, there's more little cable grommets here that you can perform wire management on your case. Really cool. I mean, overall, man, this is a really strong case. I mean, yeah, I couldn't see this being a problem for anybody as far as lugging this around to LAN parties. It's definitely going to hold up to the rigors of travel. So yeah, really good case. So I'm gonna take the motherboard tray out so you can see that, and that'll kind of lead me to the next portion of the install right after I get done setting up the rest of this case. But I'll get it out of the way for now. And again, I'm going to put these thumb screws aside in my little plastic tray here, so I can easily find them later on when I need to put them back on. Give you a better look of the motherboard tray as well. Okay. So, just take it out here. It's got a nice big cutout here for installing your heatsink on your motherboard, or the attaching mechanism for your heatsink on the motherboard. And it also gives you two standoffs already installed on here. You'll obviously need to install the rest yourself, but there's a little index on here that you might have a hard time seeing, but it tells you, for if you're using an ATX board, then your hole index is A, B, C, D, E, F, J, K, and L. So those are the holes that you need to install your standoffs on. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's a really, really good job on this. I'm really impressed. And then there's also a little cutout hole here for running your power cable to your motherboard. So overall, really good job. I'm going to look forward to installing the motherboard and everything in this case. It's yeah. Okay, so I'm going to put this aside as well, and then I'm going to take off the front panel here to get ready to install my cooling block. So turn it this way here. I definitely need a camera person here. But you know what, we'll get by. You guys get the gist of this. So it might be hard to see, but there's these little clips here that you have to press in to pull the front panel off. And just, be kind of careful. Even though it is a really well built case, you don't want to go breaking it, just being too rough with the plastic components that are on the case. So one of my professors early on in my IT classes, he taught a hardware class, and he always joke around about putting a hammer in your toolkit for working on computers. He's like, definitely you don't need a hammer in your computer toolkit. And sometimes I feel like I do want one, especially if I get frustrated with something. But It's probably a good thing I don't, because I could be costing myself a lot of money. There we go. So just ease it off a little bit. There we go. It comes off fairly easy. You just have to be gentle with it. Use the kid gloves. Okay. Let me turn this around here. So, as you can see, it does come pre-installed with two 120 millimeter fans, and those are Cooler Master brand fans. They're probably really good quality. I'm actually going to take these two off. I bought some aftermarket fans. They're made by Cougar that I'm going to install. One thing to be noteworthy of this case is that you can actually install a 240 millimeter radiator for liquid cooling right here in the front, and then I suppose if you wanted to, you could also do a 120 or another cooling block here in the back that fits to a 120 millimeter fan holes. So you could potentially do one of those here in the back for your cooling your processor, and then use the 240 millimeter up front to cool your video cards if you're doing a full liquid cool on your system. I'm just going to be doing liquid cooling the processor, so I'm not going to have to worry about that. But I'm going to go ahead and get these fans taken off and get prepped to install the liquid cooling on this. So here, let me move the camera back in the right position. There we go. And I'll try to get as much of this filmed as I can, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize if I have to pause here and there to do stuff and then turn it back on to show you. Let me get my face in the camera more. There we go. I should do it. About right there. Okay. So if anyone lives in the Lansing, Michigan area that sees this video and wants to volunteer to help me on taping some videos here, I would definitely welcome the extra help, because it makes it so much easier if I have a camera person that could zoom in, you know, when I'm trying to show things on a product that I wouldn't normally be able to do. I'm just shooting myself. So I'm gonna go ahead and pause it. I'm gonna get these two fans off and pick up again, and that'll probably conclude my first video. I'm gonna do a series. I'm gonna try to shoot it all today, but I'm gonna break it up into multiple videos, and each video will be labeled gaming PC build, and then I'll put in brackets the part that I'm emphasizing during each part of the build, so you can skip around if you want. You know, if you don't want to watch the whole build and you just want to focus on one piece of hardware that I'm reviewing, then you can do that. So yeah, I'll be back shortly.